for banks or other financial institutions. Now, the MPR set by the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC of the CBN, is the benchmark of the interest rate charged by banks to their customers. The CBN governor, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, who disclosed this at the end of the 154th Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja on Tuesday, said the decision to further hike the rate was that of 11 members of the 12-member MPC, which were present at the meeting. Now, the cash reserve ratio, that's the CRR of deposit money banks, was also raised by 500 basis points from 45% to 50%, while that of merchant banks was raised by 200 basis points from 14% to 16%. Cardoso noted that despite the series of rate hikes of the administration, the nation's real policy rate remains negative compared with the inflation rate of over 32%. So today on Eagle's Outlook, the incessant hike in interest rates vis-a-vis economic outlook for the remaining part of the year 2024. These are the issues we're going to be, discussing or looking at on Eagle's Outlook this morning. I have my guest, who is an economist and also lead researcher at Pole Eco Analytics, Adefolari Olamilekon. He will be joining us via telephone this morning to discuss this. Right, so much to talk about with a lot to take in. We also understand that unemployment rate rather is another issue to look at for at this point in time. You take a look at the high cost of fuel and also other essentials, coupled also with the inflation rate. Although the inflation rate, as a matter of fact, experienced a second consecutive monthly decline in August 2024. That was, of course, a significant shift from the upward trajectory observed over the last 2 years. And the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, actually reported a decrease to 32.15% in August, down from 33.4% in July. And we also understand that the downward trend suggests a potential reversal in the escalating prices of goods and services within the Nigerian economy. But again, the question that comes to mind would be, is that in tandem with the economic, reality on ground? I think these are the questions that we're going to be asking, my guest, who is an economist, as soon as we're able to link up with him, to dissect, these issues. Interest rate hike. I recall very clearly on Monday during the newspaper review segment with, Udrak, my colleague on the Pages segment, we actually talked about this, where a number of analysts also, suggested that the CBN, there is great need for the CBN to pause, further hike, in interest rates going forward, especially, looking at, the harsh reality on ground. But it looks like the CBN did not take our words for it, or the words of, the economists, or economic analyst, if you like, for it. So now we've seen a hike, and we're trying to get sense of, what this actually means for the economy in the long run. Hello, good morning to you, Adefolari. All right. Adefolari Olamilekon, like I said, he is an economist and also lead researcher at Pole Eco Analytics. Good morning to you once again.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Right. Good morning, Adefolari. We've seen,
Thank
another
you.
hike in our interest rate, and this is, also coupled with the fact that unemployment rate has also seen a surge in recent times. However, a number of bodies have come out, to lambast, the CBN governor, for in fact going ahead with this hike. As at Monday, a number of analysts, I'm sure you're aware, has suggested that the way forward is to pause, further hike, in interest rate. But here we are. I mean, it's now, at 27.25% from 26.75%, which it was, some months ago. And a number of analysts have actually come out to say that this is detrimental, to investment and economic growth of the country. But what are your thoughts on this?
I think it is important we also dissect this particular interest rate, or what they call bank rate, very, very well. I won't just jump to the ship of condemning the rate, but I will also want us to also enlighten ourselves and educate ourselves on the essence of interest rate. what are the positive sides of interest rate? What are the negative sides of interest rate? We need to look at both sides before we begin to jump and begin to condemn interest rate. First and foremost, let us quickly address this. Historically, Nigeria is a capitalist country. Nigeria is a financial capitalist country. And financial capitalist countries as we are, we look up to other financial capitalist countries who make decisions around principles and policy of free market economy, and particularly monetary capitalist economy. And that is the way the CBN look at. You look at the US, the Reserve Bank in the US, what they are doing. You look at the European Central Bank, what they are doing. You also look at the Bank of England, what they are doing. So, just last week, the US Reserve Bank increased their rate close to 4.5% from initial 3.7.5% they are. Get it? Now, the other European bank also did the same thing. So across the world, central banks look at the body language of what each of the central banks, particularly developed economic central banks, are doing on their interest rate. Because as I earlier pointed out, interest rate has its own positive side, it has its own negative side. Although the manner in which many analysts are condemning the rate hike is on the basis of assessing credit facilities. I hope you are following me.
Yes, please.
Now, to access credit facility now means that we are going to be paying more for loans. So businesses that want to go access loans will not be able to pay. They'll be paying so much for loans. That's why interest rate increasing interest is very dangerous to credit facilities. Now, many of us are silent on the positive side of interest rate on fixed income.
Okay.
And let me explain that. This is on fixed income.
All
fixed
right.
income, hello?
Yes.
Now,
let me come in real quick, just to butt you real quick, therefore, Lauren, so we don't, lose sight of this particular, observation. You made reference to, the U.S., economy, where, interest rate was also hiked. As a matter of fact, according to analysts, that hike, was actually bigger than, expected. However, that was done in the light of the progress on inflation and the balance of risks. We also understand that here in Nigeria, inflation, the headline inflation actually saw a decline, a significant shift from the upward trajectory observed over the last 2 years, right? You recall also that the NBS, that's the National Bureau of Statistics, reported a decrease to 32.15% in August, down from 33.4% in July. But is that significant enough for us to, hike interest rates any further in Nigeria?
It depends on what the central bank felt in terms of what they want to achieve with interest rate. I'm just trying to point out the positive side and negative side. And I earlier pointed out most analysts will always condemn interest rate hike because of challenge of accessing credit facilities. Now, on the aspect of inflation, everybody knows that you cannot use the interest rate to fight inflation. It is just joke. Even US that increase their interest rate, do you know that inflation in US dropped from 5% to about 3.7%, and they also increase their interest rate. So it is not instrumentality that you are going to use interest rate to fight inflation. It's not possible. There are other tools that can be used to fight inflation in combination of interest rates. But what we and one of the challenges of the fiscal business balance is that government is having issues with revenue and they want to reap revenue. So when I mention of fixed income, now fixed income cover aspect of stock market, bonds, treasury papers, domestic bond or international bond. So interest rates fall into that regard to the point that when interest rate is jack up, people who will be making money from fixed income will be enjoying, will be laughing, will be smiling because interest rate is up. But people will be going to the bank to go and collect loan facilities will be crying because they are going to be paying much for loans. So that is how we need to understand this jacking up of interest rates. Although on the long run, it is both positive and negative, which I earlier pointed out. But ordinary people may not understand this unless the government be able to put in place certain measures, certain gaps in the economy that will keep away inflation. And keeping away inflation from rising, as you have been seeing, particularly in the food aspect, is because government is not taking care of food production. Government left food production in the hand of household farmers. Over 40.2 million of them to be producing food for Nigeria. And these 40.2 million household farmers are impacted by insecurity. So we must understand that. But what I'm trying to point out in the technicality of understanding interest rate is that it has the negative side, it has the positive side. We only jump conclusion on the negative side, but we forget that on the positive side, people are happy that interest rate is jack up. Just 2 weeks ago, Nigeria recorded over.
Let me ask you, who are those that are actually excited about this hike in interest rate? I mean, you look at, the issues on ground at the moment. We take a look at, the flood, that has actually displaced a number of Nigerians. I mean, farms have been washed away. You also take a look at the inflation rate. You take a look at, the hike or the rise or spike, if you like, in the price of fuel. How that has actually, impacted, the day-to-day, lives of Nigerians, and even to purchase. I mean, the purchasing power of a number of Nigerians have already been eroded with this development. So how do you explain, or how do you juxtapose the fact that the benefits of hiking interest rate outweighs the disadvantages or disadvantage?
No. I'm not saying that it's better than the positive is outweigh the disadvantage. I'm only trying to we are educating ourselves so that people will not just condemn interest rate hike as if it is what is the major challenges that is causing the problem in the economy. There are other multiple factors affecting the economy, and the impression that NCBN have created in the past that is making many analysts to condemn the jacking up of interest rate was that CBN in the past have always alluded that they can use interest rate instrumentality to bring down inflation, and that has failed them woefully. So that impression alone has kept many people eye hope dash. And now when they now see CBN increasing interest rates, they will get angry because in the past they use that instrumentality to claim that it can help us to reduce inflation, but it has not helped us. But on the other hand, people who are seeing interest rates jacking up are also benefiting from it. As I earlier mentioned, people in the fixed income area, people who are doing stock, people who are getting involved in treasury bonds, selling and buying, they are making money from interest because interest on that particular asset is increasing and they are making more money. But the danger of it is that because of the impression that was been given in the past that you can use the instrumentality of interest to bring down inflation, and it has failed woefully. And I established earlier before that across the world, everybody knows, critical economists have pointed this out to mainstream economists, to other economists who believe that interest rate can be used to fight inflation, that it is not possible. So all these other colleague analysts of mine that are now condemning interest rate hike, they knew before. They jubilate when interest rate was double in Nigeria. It started over 10 years ago. Interest rate was around 9% before 2010. All of a sudden, we started increasing interest rate to 11%, 11.5, 12%, 15, 14, 15. And initially, they were happy that it was going up, but later they started condemning because they discovered that the instrumentality of interest rate cannot bring down inflation. Their eyes now got open. That was just a fact. I mean, something that is not possible to use interest rate to fight inflation. It is now coming to there. So for us who have now understand this very, very well, to now point out that in as much as we have gotten to understand this, interest rate will not help us to fight inflation. Even though CBN is increasing it on double figure, it also has its positive. And that positive is this. And let me now land on that regard. Now, when federal government is selling bonds, when federal government is selling treasury paper, and they are telling you that we are bringing SPL, standing foreign portfolio investors, what do you think we are attracting foreign portfolio investors into? It is interest rate on the bond. It is interest rate on the stock market. It is interest rate on the treasury papers, not any other thing. Because what we attract them to come and invest in your economy is what are they taking back in terms of the interest that you are going to pay on the paper they are buying, the government paper, the bond paper, and the rest of them. So we must educate Nigerians on this regard, and we must also let CBN know that they were the ones that push Nigerians to believe that fighting inflation can be done with interest rates, and that has failed us woefully.
All right, Adefolarin, let me quickly ask you this. I mean, a number of operators have come out to share their thoughts on this, but apparently your thoughts are completely different, from the concerns of these operators that, actually highlighted earlier. And somehow it also translates to the fact that this hike in interest rate did not come to you as a surprise. Yes or no?
What did you say? I didn't get you very well.
Yes, I'm asking that obviously this hike in interest rate did not come to you as a surprise, right?
No, it's not coming to me because me and you, both of us have been on different platforms that we discussed interest rates in Nigeria before. And I always made reference to what has happened 10, 12 years ago. Before now, interest rate was not double digits in Nigeria. It was as a result of the fundamentalists and pundits in the capitalist financial industry in Nigeria that even desire that we have a double interest rate because of the benefits on the fixed income. And now it has happened, And again, the hope that CBN gave that they can use interest rate to fight inflation has been dashed because interest rate cannot be used to fight inflation. So what I'm trying to point out is this. Let us understand interest rate on the positive side and negative side. And I have earlier pointed that the biggest negative side of interest rate jacking up is credit facilities. If you go and borrow money from the bank today, you are going to pay severely for it. That's the danger. And people, businesses who want to expand. But people who are investing in stock, people who are investing in bonds, people who are buying government paper, they will be smiling because what government will be paying them back as interest will be high. So we must understand interest rates on that regard.
Let's critically look at those who are actually investing in, government bonds, and all of that. Who are they? Folarin?
They are Nigerians. They are FPI, foreign portfolio investors. They are Nigerians like you and I.
What category do these people actually fall under?
There are people who deal in financial derivatives. You can see them even the banks are involved. The financial analysts of course are involved in buying government papers, bond paper, and the rest of them. Just the $500 million that government released that they sold. How much did the federal government got? It was a domestic bond. They were domestic dollar bonds. And federal government was pushing out 500 million. But you know what they got? They got 900 million. Meaning that people will oversubscribe for it. Early this year, CBN brought out a 250 billion treasury papers. Do you know how much CBN got as subscription? 450 billion. Now they are planning another bond paper to be sold before end of September. It will be oversubscribed because of what? Because of the interest that is on it. So we must understand that regard. But the challenge that many analysts are afraid of, where most of them, like Natima, Lagos Chambers of Commerce, condemn CBN increasing interest rates, it is because of the borrowing credit facilities from banks. That's why they are concerned. But they will not. Why don't they tell Nigerians the positive side of it, which some of them are benefiting from? Why they tell Nigerians that?
But so we must educate Nigerians should we overflog the positive, or the gains or benefits, that would be recorded from this hike in interest rates, and also, ignore the negative, implication it will have? Of course, this would definitely, affect the cost of borrowing. It will be exacerbated, as we've been made to understand, possibly well above 30